My wife left me for 3 months and recently begged me to take her back. I said no, and now everyone seems to be against me. I need some advice, folks. Let me back up a bit because I know this will not make much sense without context. About 7 years ago, I married the woman I thought was the love of my life. Her name was Sarah Well. That is not her real name, but let us call her that. We had been together for 2 years before tying the knot, and back then I was sure I had won the jackpot. But after we got married, something changed. Sarah started acting distant, sad, like there was this weight on her shoulders she could not shake. At first, I thought it was just stress or a phase, but it kept getting worse. Eventually, I convinced her to see a doctor who sent her to therapy. That was when I found out she had been struggling with depression, supposedly tied to things from her past, things she had buried but never really dealt with. I did everything I could to be there for her. I worked full-time 40 hours a week. Sometimes Moran still came home to handle most of the housework. I told her not to worry about anything, just to focus on getting better. If she needed to talk, I was always there to listen. That was over 6 years ago. And the truth? Not a damn thing changed. Sarah just got worse. She spent her days lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, complaining about how miserable she felt. Meanwhile, I was running myself into the ground working, cleaning, cooking, and taking care of everything while she did absolutely nothing. No intimacy, no affection, no date night. Shell. I cannot even remember the last time we held hands. I was exhausted. I would come home from work only to find the house a wreck, and I would clean it up while she barely moved. And when I finally sat down at the end of the day, drained, she would just unload all her problems on me. It felt like I was drowning. And the worst part? I could not even escape for a few hours. If I went out to grab a beer with my buddies, she would blow up my phone panicked, saying she was scared and could not be alone. So I stopped going out, stopped seeing friends, stopped doing anything that was just for me. My entire existence revolved around making sure she was okay. And I kept telling myself, this is just a rough patch. It will get better. Just hold on a little longer. After all, that is what marriage is about, right? Sticking it out through the hard times? But damn, this was not just hard, it was suffocating. Then, 4 months ago, Sarah started seeing a new therapist. And guess what brilliant advice this one gave her? She needed space from me. Her depression had started when we got married, so clearly I must be the root of her misery. When she told me that, I felt like I had been kicked in the gut. After everything I had done, every sacrifice I had made, this was the conclusion she came to, that I was the problem. But I pushed those thoughts down and tried to talk it out with her. It did not matter, her mind was made up. She packed up and moved in with her mother, saying she needed to get away from me to figure things out. For the first few weeks, I was a wreck. I called her family, begged her to come home. I tore myself apart wondering if I really was the problem. I apologized for things I was not even sure I had done. I hit the lowest point of my life, questioning whether anything was even worth it anymore. But after that first month, something strange happened. Relief. I came home from work, and for the first time in years, the house was quiet. No mess, no complaints, no emotional weight crushing me the second I walked through the door. I could just be. I started picking up hobbies I had forgotten about. I reconnected with my friends. I had time to breathe. And slowly, I started seeing things differently. I realized that I had been miserable for years. That this was not some rough patch, it was just my life now. And the more I thought about it, the more I knew. I did not want this anymore. Then, one night, 2 months after she left, I got a call from Sarah. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. She said she had made a huge mistake, that she should never have left, that she had been an idiot to listen to her therapist. She said she loved me, that she wanted to come home. For just a second, I almost caved. But then, just like that, the words came out of my mouth before I could even think. You made your choice, Sarah. I am done. I told her I would get the divorce papers ready, that I had wasted enough years on a relationship that had given me nothing in return. And then I hung up. After that, I just sat there for a while, staring at the wall. Then, out of nowhere, I started crying. Not because I was sad, because I felt free. Now, though, my family will not let it go. They are telling me I am making a mistake, that I owe it to Sarah to try again, that marriage is not always easy. But the thing is, it was never easy. It was never fun. I cannot even remember the last time I was genuinely happy in this marriage. We were both still young, and we should be living. Instead, we were stuck in this joyless, dead-end situation. We had not even touched each other in over a year. and honestly, I do not want to go back to that. But then I think about it, and guilt creeps in. Am I just abandoning someone who is struggling with depression? Does that make me a bad person? I do not know, but I cannot shake this feeling that, for the first time in a long time, I am making the right choice. I spent a lot of time thinking, trying to figure out if there was even a chance I could take her back. Even though my last post might have made it seem like my mind was made up, the truth is, I was torn. My emotions were all over the place. Some moments I felt nostalgic, remembering the good times, thinking maybe there was something worth saving. Other times I felt nothing but anger and resentment, like I had wasted years of my life on someone who drained me dry. I will be honest, this was not just about her, it was about me too. My emotions had been a mess for a long time, and I knew I had to get them under control before making any big decisions. The past few days I have been trying to sort through everything, and I do feel a little better. Not perfect, but better than I was a week ago. I know it will take time to fully process all of this, but I figured I owed you all an update, especially since I finally made a decision on what to do next. After a lot of thinking, I realized that whatever choice I made had to be mine. Not my family's, not hers, not some strangers on the internet. Mine. I was the one who would have to live with it. And I knew if I did not at least talk to her face to face, I would always wonder if I made the right call. So, 2 days ago, I invited her over. I told her we needed to talk about us, about where things stood, about what I planned to do moving forward. I needed to lay everything out on the table, once and for all. Now, I will not go into every little detail of the conversation because, honestly, it was long, emotional, and way too personal. But I will tell you the important parts. From the moment she walked in, I could feel the tension. It was awkward, heavy, like neither of us knew where to start. But I did not hold back. I told her everything. I told her I was exhausted, that I felt like I had been giving my all for years and getting nothing in return. I told her I did not recognize the person I married anymore. I told her that these past 3 months had been the first time in years that I felt free, that I could actually breathe. I told her that I was tired of waiting for things to change, that I was tired of being the only one trying, tired of being in a marriage where I felt like I was the only person actually putting in the work. I laid it all out, how she never lifted a finger around the house, how she never tried to help herself, how she had left me feeling like a ghost in my own home. And then I admitted something I had been afraid to say out loud. I told her there were days I regretted marrying her. She sat there listening, and for the first time in forever, she actually acknowledged it. She did not get defensive, did not try to twist things around. She just admitted it. She told me she knew she had not been a good partner. She knew she had taken me for granted. She told me she had felt like a burden for a long time, and that was why she left. She thought maybe I would be better off without her. She also admitted something else, blaming the therapist had been an easy way out. Sure, the therapist had suggested she step back from our marriage, but ultimately, she had made that decision. The reason she gave me before, about me being the cause of her depression, that had not been the whole truth. The truth was, she had been lost for a long time, and she did not know how to pull herself out of it. She said she had spent these past few months feeling nothing but guilt, realizing just how much she had taken for granted. She said she had hated watching me run myself into the ground while she sat there doing nothing, but she did not know how to stop. That was huge. For years, she had refused to acknowledge any of this, and now, suddenly, she was laying it all out, apologizing for things she had never admitted before. And honestly, that was the first time in a long time that I saw a glimpse of the person I had once loved. But just because she was finally admitting it did not mean I was ready to just forgive and forget. I told her that if she really wanted another chance, she was going to have to prove it. Words meant nothing anymore. I needed to see her put in the effort. So I laid down some conditions. First, she had to get a job. I did not care what it was, waiting tables, working retail, whatever. The point was, she needed to show up, put in the work, and start building some structure in her life. Second, she had to go to the gym with me at least 3 times a week, not just to get in shape, but to do something, to break the cycle of sitting around all day. Third, she had to start helping around her parents' house while she was living there. No more lying in bed all day. She was going to clean, cook, buy groceries, whatever needed to be done. Fourth, we were going to go on a date once a week. No more avoiding the outside world, no more hiding, no more excuses. Fifth, we were going to do couples counseling. We had tried it before, but this time I was not going to let her back out of it. Sixth, she had to see a new therapist, be completely honest, and actually do what they told her to do. 7th, if the therapist recommended medication, she had to take it every single dose, on time, no skipping, no complaints. I would keep track of them myself if I had to. I made it clear until she did all of these things and stuck with them for months. There was no chance we would move forward. I was not going to fall for empty promises. I know ultimatums in relationships are usually a bad idea, but I did not see another option. I could not go back to the way things were. And to my surprise, she agreed. Even crazier, it has only been 2 days, but she has already started. She has been helping out around her parents' house, looking for jobs. Her father even told me she seems more alive than she has in years. Now, I know better than to celebrate too early. There is a long road ahead, and there is a very real chance that this will not work out. But for now, I am willing to see where it goes. And honestly, I feel like I owe it to myself to give her this one last chance. Call me a fool for doing it, but maybe just maybe I am making the right call. That is my update. Not sure if I will post another one, but to everyone who took the time to share advice, thank you. It meant more than you know. And whatever happens, I hope all of you find your own happiness.